Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. All of our programming brought to you here, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. All of our programming brought to you here by our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to be the best at everything they do. Branches now everywhere you look, and I'm drinking out of my Howard Bank cup. Also, Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. Make sure you're stopping by there in the morning and getting that gas. Getting that cone of coffee, make sure you're using the Rofo app. Real fresh, real fast. This guy I've been chasing for about a month. When the Philadelphia Eagles were in the Super Bowl, right after the championship game, I made my list of all the Philadelphia goons I had met over my many, many travels, and I said, man, I got rock stars, athletes, residents, and I chased a bunch of people down, and this guy was not available then. I think he wanted to wait until the Eagles had won, everybody had greased up the Crisco poles, and now he's here slinging a rock and roll with the Dead Daisies. Philadelphia Eagles fan and long-suffering, but suffering no more, John Corabi joins us live via satellite. What's going on, Corabi? To the victor go the spoils, man. I got a whole bag of Eagles swag here for friends like you.
Dude, you know what? It was crazy. It was funny. I live in Nashville for many years now, and you know, so my wife came to me, and she owns a hair salon, and one of the girls that works in the thing, her husband's the bartender. They were having a Super Bowl party, so my wife volunteered to host the party. And she goes, yeah, man, it'd be cool if you're in town, you know. And I said, well, the Eagles are in the playoff, man. Wouldn't it be really cool if we get there? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I gotta be honest, I was just a little apprehensive when Carson Wentz went down. But, man, I got to tell you.
Everybody says that now. You were jumping off a bridge when that happened. Everybody was, man.
Oh, dude. Like
a backup quarterback's going to run the table and win the Super Bowl. No one ever can feel good about that, right? Really?
No, but you know what? I just kept sitting there. I got to be honest with you. I was kind of a Nick Foles fan when he was there the first time. And he had a great record the first year. Even the second year, he broke his collarbone. I think when he went down, it was 8 games in. At that point, we were 6-2. And then they traded him the next year. And I was like, you know what? Give this guy an offensive line, somebody to throw the ball to, somebody to hand the ball to, and we're going to be fine. And they got rid of him. And when he came back, I was like, okay, cool. You know, I always kind of thought I thought Nick was, you know, obviously, Carson's just a once-in-a-lifetime kid. But I thought Nick Foles, you know, was completely capable of doing what he did. But I do have to admit, I was sweating when Carson went down during the Rams game. I'm like, oh,
well,
God.
Give everybody your background on this. Everybody knows you're from the Crew and with Rat, and you're with the Dead Daisies now, and we're going to get to your rock and roll, but you got a real serious Philadelphia Eagles heart. You know, I'm buddies with Johnny Allen down here in Baltimore from Charm City Devils, and he's got a new project, and, of course, those of us, the old guys like us, remember Child's Play. He's such a huge Ravens fan. I go to games with him. There's a lot of rock stars that are attached to their team, and you know you've been suffering with the Eagles back with Buddy Ryan and Jaworski, man. You're a couple of years older than me, so you've been suffering.
You know
longer.
what? Honestly, my dad, when I was a kid, my dad used to work at a clothing store in Center City, Philadelphia, called Bonds. It was like men could go and get suits and ties and whatever. And Bonds was like the official place where all the Philadelphia Eagles at the time used to go in and get their suits.
Well, so, I mean, if you're Harold Carmichael and you're 6'6" or whatever, you got to get custom-made suit, right? I mean, you got to go somewhere.
So
right?
This was the place. This was the place where they go in, and I'm talking, dude. I'm talking Pete Retzlaff, Tom Brookshire, Bill Berge, like way back in the day. You know, Roman Gabriel, like.
That's awesome.
Jaws, like all those guys used to get their suits from my dad. So, you know, my dad was an Eagles fan. I would go in. He would bring me in on a Saturday because, you know, Tom Brookshire was coming in and going to have a suit tailored for him or whatever. You know, so I would go in there and, you know, so I've been a fan since I was like 7, 8 years old, 9 years old before I really, you know, started getting into football. But back then, you know, the big teams was, you know, Terry Bradshaw, you know, Bob Greasy, the Miami Dolphins, the undefeated Miami Dolphins. The
Same
Dallas
era,
Cowboys.
dude. I mean, we had Burt Jones here. I mean, yeah, I remember Bergie, all those guys. I'm old enough to remember all of Fran Tarkington, Roger Staubach. Staubach come in there and kick your butt a couple times, right? I mean, that had Redskins. So, I mean, that whole era, it makes you a fan. And I think for any Eagles fan of your age, of our age, I've won twice, right? The Ravens came back. We won once in 01. We won again 12 years later. My dad, had the Colts and all those victories, and we had Orioles teams here that won. There was always some mojo going here. Boy, Philly had, the Flyers, and then the Phillies in 80, then the Sixers, and then there was just like nothing, right? And the Eagles really haven't provided that for the fans there. It hasn't ever felt real, man.
We kept getting invited to the party, but we always missed the car getting there. You know what I mean? And it was just big drought, but at the end of the day, no more. You know what I mean? And
you
the
had
thing
fun
that
with
I'm
it?
excited about, it's funny. My wife constantly kids me because I've always got the NFL Network on. Like every morning I get up, I'm Good Morning Football. So I'm watching everything that's happening. And the funny thing is now, everybody's talking about the Eagles last year. And, we're going to lose some players, obviously, with free agency and trying to get under the cap space and all that stuff. But
including our guy, Torrey Smith, by the way.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be there next year,
That's
man.
It.
I like Torrey, but I got to be honest with you. He wasn't, the last couple games he kind of came on, but he wasn't really much of a factor through the year. Nelson Aguilar was great this year. What's his name? Came from Chicago.
Alshon Jeffrey, yep.
Yeah, Alshon was awesome this year. Our running game is sick, but now it's we've got Mac Hollins, Shelton Gibson. We got some kids on the thing. So I think they're going to lose. I think we're going to lose Vinny Curry. We're probably going to lose Bo Allen. They were talking about possibly losing Torrey Smith to make some room for cap space. But now we just picked up.
Dude, I can't believe you're already talking about next year. Don't you just want to bask in the glow of it? Don't you just want to talk about how effing great it was? I mean, seriously?
No. I'm already sitting there going, you know what?
You got to be miserable all over again.
No.
Take 5 years. Take 5 years of joy when your team wins a Super Bowl. Trust me, dude. It makes life better. When I go to anybody, I say the home of the world champion. I had Eskin on. Baldinger came on this week. All my buddies that live up there. Cosell, I saw him. It's a civic thing. Have fun with it, man.
No, listen, I am enjoying it. But the thing that's amazing to me, even when I was watching the game, the Super Bowl game, all my friends are like, I don't know, dude, I feel pretty good about the Eagles. I go, yeah, you know what? I go, win, lose, or draw. We're not supposed to be here. The fact that we lost all those players that we lost throughout the year, Chris Maragos, Jordan Hicks, Jason Peters, Carson Wentz, Darren Sproles, on paper, we should not have been in the Super Bowl, period. I don't care how anybody says it. So I said, the fact that we're in the Super Bowl is awesome. Now, if we lose to the greatest coach and quarterback of all time, I'm okay with that. But I'm telling you this now, next year, 2018, we're getting Jason Peters back. We're getting Darren Sproles back. We're getting Jordan Hicks, Chris Maragos, Carson Wentz. Oh, and by the way, we're losing Vinny Curry, but we just added Michael Bennett. So I feel pretty good.
Well, I would say this, for what they put together last year and where the hope would be, I would say, I go to the Super Bowl every year, John. I expect that the Eagles will be there at some point in the next 3 to 5 years again. I mean, I don't think this was a fluke. I don't think they're going to win 4 championships, but they might. But I think they're going to have a chance to win 4 championships, and I think
that's all you can ask for. To me now. And even some of the writers or the sports guys on the NFL Network, we just added Michael Bennett yesterday, and they're like, okay, this defensive line that the Eagles have is going to be even more ferocious and nasty than it was last year. Now, if Howie Roseman can pull off a cool couple, all right, cut this guy and pick up some money here and cut that guy, maybe do a little work in free agency. I didn't really have much faith in him before when Chip Kelly was there, but what he's done in the last couple of years since they got rid of Chip Kelly, Howie Roseman's done, it's been like nothing short of amazing. So I'm just excited about what they're going to do next year. Like, it's going to be a tough division. I think the NFC East is going to be a tough division. It's going to be cool. I'm excited.
He is John Corabi, the band, the Dead Daisies. He's back with a new single and an album. I tried to chase him around before the Eagles Super Bowl because I was trying to gauge like the excitement level for a guy like you, waiting all that time with this story about your dad and the suits, which is awesome. But you've been working on some music here. You guys are about to hit the road. You're not coming to this part till probably August, September range, right? But give me a little run through on what's going on with the Dead Daisies. I had you on the show about a year and a half ago.
Well, the new record is called Burn It Down. It's coming out April 6th. The 20th of March, we're heading to New York. We're going to rehearse for about 10 days, and then we leave New York and we fly over to Glasgow, Scotland. We're going to rehearse over there. Once the gear gets put on a plane and flies over there, we're going to rehearse again for another day or two to make sure the tubes are all working. But we'll rehearse over there, and then we start our world tour. We do UK, Europe, South America, Japan. We're going to hit America, and then we're going right back to Europe, close the year out in Europe and Israel and the UK again. So we're going from like March 20th till probably December 20th or 21st, right before Christmas.
It's an interesting concept. I think anytime guys of your age get together and want to go do this and, want to put something new together and bring in professionals, right? Like, I think for every band, you met each other in a bar or through a magazine ad or somewhere on the strip or somebody's girlfriend's brother played the bass. And, that's kind of how it happened back in the 80s when I think when I see bands now, anyone, let's say over 50, but of that era, whoever is in your band and on your bus and on your plane and in your studio and in your life, I guess the behind the music has played out all the ones that didn't work, and I have great admiration for people who are professionals that have been in other outfits, that says Bad English or Journey next to their name, or White Snake and Dio, or White Snake and Thin Lizzy, or in your case, Motley Crue and The Scream and Rat and whatever else you've been associated with. But putting guys together, that's kind of a special, unique sort of business relationship, but it's also something where you want to create new music and and maybe didn't have good situations throughout your career in various bands or management or whatever at that point in your life, right?
Well, to be honest with you, doing something like the Dead Daisies can be, if I can liken it to football, at the end of the day, everybody in the band, just like everybody on the team, there has to be some sort of cohesion. There has to be some sort of camaraderie. There has to be some sort of gelling process. Much like the dream team that the Eagles had back in 11 or 12, whenever that was.
But they don't get to pick the team they're on for the most part. When you put 5, 6, 7 guys in a band and you're 50 years old, you all know and you've all been in a good band or a bad band or a band that did well but couldn't kind of get it together. I think that you sort of know what kind of people you want to be around, right? And that is a different point in your life, right?
At our age, we've all been through all these other bands. And the one thing that I think really works, in our situation is we've all kind of figured out where, like when I was 20, however many years old, 26 years old, doing the Scream, 27 years old, if somebody disagreed with me, it was just like, there wasn't no talking. It was argument, everybody starts swinging. And here, we're much older. We've all been around the block a few times. We've had disappointments. We've had success. And now we've kind of figured out how to talk to each other as adults. And we can still disagree, but it isn't a complete like 3 Mile Island meltdown. You know what I mean? It's just, it's adults.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to steal from your guy, Jeff Lurie, right? When he fired Chip Kelly after that Christmas party, he talked about emotional intelligence. And that sounds like something I heard on Phil Donahue 30 years ago, you know what I mean? And I guess later in life you start to, like, realize that part of it, right? And that is part of the aging process, that if you had this band and had this professionalism going on when you were 21, you'd have been the Rolling Stones, right? Like, everybody would feel that way at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's but it's just weird. With age comes wisdom, and some people figure it out, some people don't. You know what I mean? And emotional intelligence can kind of work, in any sort of team situation. And I think of a band as it's very much a team. I may be adamant about something, going into, trying to explain something to the guys. But at this point in my life, I figured out if 4 guys are telling me that they disagree with me, then okay, that's fine. Here's my point. This is what I'm saying for the record. Boom. But you figure out how to, as you get older, you figure out how to, it's all give and take. It's just give and take. That's all.
Good rock and roll music. Sometimes hard to find and being made. The Dead Daisies' new album is Burn It Down. Rise Up is the first single coming out here in the next couple weeks as we get ready for baseball season. You a Phillies guy too, or no? Just an Eagles guy?
No, I'm everything and everything Phillies. It's weird though. Like when I was young, I was a huge Phillies fan. And Eagles fan, but I've kind of more just gravitated. That's the thing to me. Like my wife was just talking to me about this the other day. She came in, the NFL Network was on. She goes, "What could they possibly be talking about?" And I go, "This is the genius of the NFL. They do the Super Bowl, wait a couple weeks, then they start talking about the combine. Then they start Then it's a couple weeks later." Then it's the free agency period. Then a few weeks later, a month later, it's the draft.
Now, before that, the schedule comes out. Don't forget that. The schedule, then the draft.
And then it's like they milk that for a little bit. Then, guess what? Now it's spring training. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And it's like they have kind of figured out how to milk their followers all year round.
Hey, dude, 30 years ago, you made more money in Europe than the NFL did. I go over there now, and they sell out that stadium, and it's like real, dude. And I don't need to tell you, you've traveled the whole world, but I was over there at Wembley for our game back in September. It's a real thing, man. It's like people come from Norway and Scotland, and I met them on the tube, and I took pictures with every jersey. Literally, it was my goal on the tube to take a picture with every jersey in the league, and it didn't take me 30 minutes, man.
I just did the Monsters of Rock cruise, and it's the same thing. There's people from all over the world, and you would be shocked. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of them wear their soccer jerseys.
Sure.
That's still big over in Europe, but I'm telling you, at some point, they're going to put a team in London. They'll put a team in Germany. There will be teams all through Europe. And what they'll do is they'll have their league over there. They'll play against each other. Then after we have the Super Bowl, and the best team in America will play the best team in Europe. And it will be a global Super Bowl.
Like your tour, be the world tour, But, you spent a lot of time over there. You love Europe, like Europe. I think rock stars are the one set of people that when I talk to them, almost universally, it's not an American thing. Like, I talk to the guys in the E Street Band, they say Europe's their primary market. I mean, Max Weinberg would sit and talk business, so would Nils Lofgren. We make a whole lot more money we play in Europe, and they're much more passionate and crazy in Spain and Italy. And I've seen shows over there, and I've chased bands around. I think it's really sort of lost on people in America how incredible music is outside of this country when you go see U2 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as I've done, and certainly for what you do, hard rock, old-fashioned, good old GNR type of Stonesy, rooted rock and roll. That South America loves your music,
they're out
man.
of control. But it's weird. We'll do we've done the Download Festival a few times, and I'm talking like the first year we did it, we played at 11 in the morning, and it was a Sunday, and it was raining, and I just walked on stage at like 10:15. I'm like, oh God, man, there is nobody here. Like, we're gonna play to a field. And I swear to God, I walked off stage, I went and got changed, and I walked on stage again literally 55 minutes later, and there was about 40,000 people there.
Wow.
Just rocking out. And, you know, the fans are there. But I just think in America, there's so much more stimulation here. Like, even with me, like, I'm just as guilty. Like, I turn my TV on, I come home from whatever, I turn my TV on, I have like 1,400 channels, and
plus Netflix and YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I have Showtime, I have Cinemax, I have HBO, I have on demand. I can literally go on demand any night of the week. My wife and I will order dinner. We'll sit here, put it on demand, and I can go to the free movie section, and I have like 10,000 movies I can go back and I can watch.
Dude, I'm such an old DVD whore, watching old Bowie concerts and old Petty video. You know, like I'll watch an old GNR, I'll watch an old REM video, or you know, some boot of a Bob Seger show at the Capitol Center from the Live Bullet tour, or, you know, some old Van Halen Fair Warning tour thing. I love music, and I do that more than I watch movies, to be honest with you. But you know, for what you're doing at this point in your life, man, it must be a real pleasure to be out with guys you like and walking onto a stage and still, you know, plugging in and being a professional and making a living doing this, John.
Yeah, it's definitely this late in life to be able to, first of all, still be here is one thing, but to also be in a band that is, you know, at 50 plus, to be in a band that's actually quite relevant amongst our age group, but even younger kids, like 18, 19, 20 years old. There's a ton of young kids coming to see us. You know, so you know what, dude, I'm just blessed. The Eagles are Super Bowl champions of the world, and I'm in a relevant band that kicks ass. What can I ask for?
John Corabi is on the line. The Dead Daisies are the band. The new album's out in a couple of weeks. Burn It Down and Rise Up is the single as well. Hey, man, last thing for you, the power of the web. I was sort of poking around on YouTube, and I found you guys like sitting on some stools and, you know, just doing like an acoustic thing too. It really is amazing the power music has at this point, where I remember sitting around waiting for a video to come on MTV back in the 80s, or doing the Headbangers Ball to see my buddy John Allen's band on Child's Play, or some local bands around here, Kicks, Wrath Child America. I know in your area it was Cinderella and all those bands. You know, it really is incredible that Daryl Hall can do this live from Daryl says, hey, the web's incredible for that I found this acoustic version of your stuff.
We do, actually, it's funny, but we do quite a few, we'll do quite a few acoustic shows. I was just telling someone earlier, like, we've played in Hamburg, Germany, the last 3 or 4 tours we've done. And every time, for some apparent reason, every time we get to Hamburg, there's a day off either before or after. We'll do an electric show, but on whether it's the day before or the day after, we'll stay and we'll literally go to a Hard Rock Cafe, set up all of, you know, our gear, and then sit down and play for an hour acoustically and just hang out with the fans. And, you know, so we do quite a bit of them, radio things. Like someone will say, hey, I'm doing a contest with 100 winners, blah, blah, blah. Can you? Yeah, sure. And we'll show up. And even if we can't do an electric show, we'll set up our gear and we'll do a full-blown acoustic thing.
Come by the condo. We'll set you up on the couch back here, John. We'll let you plug in and play anytime, man.
As long as football isn't playing at the same time, I'm good.
Hey, I got a bag of Eagles swag over here that I swiped from the party, so I got to go to the party afterward. A couple of the Eagles front office guys are big rock and roll fans. Jimmy Schwartz and Joe Douglas, those guys are all serious, like, you know, Priest, Maiden kind of metal, hard rock guys. So there's a lot of rock and roll going on in that Eagles family. Hey, man, congratulations. Did the victor go to the spoils? Good luck on the tour here coming up. We'll see you guys when you get back to America this summer, all right?
All right, brother. Thank you.
You got it. John Corabi joining us here. At one point in Motley Crue, all sorts of different bands, including the Scream. Also did some Rat stuff with a bunch of members of Cool Rock and Rollers, including Doug Aldrich, of course, from Whitesnake and Dio, and a bunch of others. You can check them out online. They're on Twitter. They're also out there. Corabi's got a great wiki page. And, of course, the now still unsatiated. One's not good enough for the Eagles fans. They're already talking about next year cutting Torrey Smith. John Corabi from the Dead Daisies. Good visit there. We are mixing it up. We're not sticking to sports around here. All of our WNST programming brought to you, of course, by our friends at Pizza John's, my mom's favorite pizza, my favorite pizza. But I have been eating the cheesesteaks with the provolone and the mushrooms and the fried onions. I'm not going to lie to you. Pizza John's, 50 years, same as me, since 1968. They've been doing it down at Back River Neck Road in Essex. If you've never been there, go. If you've been there, you're like, damn it, Ness, you're making me hungry. And I know and the hat does that too. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We're going to have more rock stars on, more authors on. At some point, we'll have politicians on. We're just going to talk to people about things around here and expand the conversation, but including the Orioles and the Ravens and the Terps and the Caps and all that good stuff. Coach Barry Trotz will be joining us swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry on March 29th. We'll have more details on that coming soon, but make sure you hold that. That is the night of opening day. Opening day now, March 29th. I know that's weird. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook and everywhere in the world on our Facebook Live and YouTube WNSTV channel. We're also out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day at WNST.net to listen to anything you want, when you want, where you want, podcasts. Listen how you want. It's all brought to you by buyatoyota.com. You can also download the TuneIn Radio app and listen live. Also brought to you by buyatoyota.com. Morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and planetfitness.com. Don't forget the Maryland Jockey Club and racing at Laurel on the weekends. The entries are now in the morning newspaper as well as on the front of our website at WNST.net. Nasty at WNST.net finds me anytime, anywhere. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports and a little bit of rock and roll.